Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to USEFP's short video part of our free online GRE course. These videos will help you prepare for the GRE, which is essential to graduate level admissions in most universities in the United States and for the Fulbright Scholarship Program. I'm Amna Mahmood and I have been affiliated with the USEFP in various capacities since 2017. This session will be for GRE Verbal, and this is video number 7 of 12 in this series. In this video, we will look at 3 different ways you can enhance your vocabulary and learn words that appear frequently on the GRE. An important thing to keep in mind about GRE vocabulary is that it can be tricky because some words on the test have double meanings. When the GRE tests double meanings, it's usually the secondary definition of common words that it is using. Let's look at a few examples. The list that we have today includes 10 commonly used words, and these are tender, wanting, fleece, wax, qualify, intimate, becoming, telling, check, and inform. Let's look at the secondary meaning of each word in the following slides. Tender means offer or present something formally. For example, he tendered his resignation as a leader. Wanting means lacking in a required or a necessary quality. For example, they weren't wanting in confidence, or they weren't lacking in confidence. Fleece means obtaining a great deal of money from someone, typically by overcharging or swindling them. For example, the city's cab drivers are notorious for fixing fares and fleecing tourists. Wax means to increase. An example we have here is that his anger waxed. Qualify means to make a statement or assertion less absolute or to add reservations to it. For example, she felt obliged to qualify her first short answer. Or, I love San Francisco, but it is always windy. So when we qualify a statement, we put some limitations on that statement. Intimate means to imply or to hint. For example, he had already intimated that he might not be able to continue. Becoming means 2 things. So the first meaning is of clothing looking good on someone. So for example, if you say, what a becoming dress, you're complimenting the dress. The other meaning of becoming is suitable or appropriate. For example, do not talk too much to strangers. It's not becoming. Telling means to have a noticeable, typically harmful effect on someone. For example, the strain of supporting the family was beginning to tell on him. Check means stop or slow the progress of something, typically something undesirable. For example, efforts were made to check the disease. Inform means to influence something such as an opinion or a decision. For example, religion informs every aspect of their lives. Another example that we have here is the habits of individual employees are informed by the corporate culture in which they participate. As you practice verbal and build your vocabulary, also make an effort to learn words that have secondary meaning. You can easily find websites that provide lists of common words with double meaning that can be tested on the GRE. The second important thing to keep track of as you build vocabulary is to be mindful of confusing words. These are words whose meanings people commonly confuse. And the GRE test over the years has been able to keep track of these words and use them to the test's advantage. Let's look at a few examples of confusing word pairs and their meanings in more detail. An important reason why I do this exercise of going through meanings is so that it is imprinted in your memory and also to highlight the importance of building vocabulary and learning meaning as you train for the test. The first pair that we're looking at is accept and accept. Accept means to receive. For example, he accepted a pen as a present. Whereas the commonly sounding word accept means to not include. For example, they work every day except Sunday. The second pair is comprehensible and comprehensive. Comprehensible means that it is easily understood. For example, it's clear and comprehensible English. Comprehensive means including everything. For example, a comprehensive list of sources. The third pair is complacent and complacent. Complacent means being satisfied with oneself or one's achievement. And an example of how it is used in a sentence is, you can't afford to be complacent about security. Complacent means willing to please others. For example, there are too many complacent doctors signing sick notes. Envelope and envelope. Envelope is the covering that you use to enclose a letter. For example, she was ecstatic after she received the envelope that had her offer letter. Envelope means to cover or surround. For example, the atmosphere envelopes the earth. Stationery with an A means not moving. So for example, a car collided with a stationary vehicle. The similar sounding stationery with an E means writing and other office materials. Unconscionable and unconscious. Unconscionable means not right or reasonable. For example, the unconscionable conduct of his son. Unconscious means not awake or aware of one's surrounding. For example, the boy was beaten unconscious. Ingenious, as all of you would be aware, means clever and inventive. Ingenuous means a person who is innocent and unsuspecting. For example, he eyed it with wide, ingenuous eyes. Our final pair of confusing words is appraise and apprise. Appraise means to assess the value or quality of something. Apprise means to inform or tell someone. For example, I thought it right to apprise Chris of what had happened. Okay, so circling back to the list of confusing words that we went over today, I want to emphasize that this is in no way an exhaustive list. There are multiple sources available online on confusing words that appear on GRE that you should go over, and you should try to get accustomed to these different sorts of words. Okay, so a third way you can build your vocabulary is to focus on learning the roots of the words. Roots are the part of a word that can form the basis of new words through the addition of prefixes and suffixes. A prefix comes before a root of a word. For example, the prefix of un means not. So un before the root happy gives you unhappy, which means not happy. A suffix comes after the root of a word. For example, er at the end of a verb makes a word that means someone who performs an action. For example, helper, teacher, preacher, dancer. We will look at some examples in the following slides. As we look at the slides, I just want to put a disclaimer here that I personally did not use this approach because it is not easy for me to rote learn, and also because I felt that during the exam, if I have to break down words that I do not know into their respective roots, recall the meaning of the roots, and then try to figure out what the overall words would mean, it would be too time consuming. So although we're going to talk about, although I didn't use it, this approach might work for some people, right? So this approach is part of almost every word list you see in GRE preparatory books. So I still wanted to discuss this with everyone here briefly. Okay, so let's look at a few examples. Ego is a root that means self. In the word egocentric, you have ego combined with a suffix that means center. And this combined gives you a word that means someone who is focused on oneself. The word egomaniac combines the root ego with the suffix mania, which means mental illness. And combined, it gives a word that means a person who is excessively self-centered to the extent that it is a mental disease. Other examples with the root ego are egoism, egoist, egotism, and there are others as well. The root form means shape. The word conform combines the prefix con, which means together, with form and makes a word that means make something similar to another thing. For example, make separate things come together such that they behave according to socially acceptable standards. The word deform combines the prefix de, which means away from, with form, to give you the meaning of distorted shape or form. Other examples include formality, reform, format, formalize, formless, and informative. The root norm means typical. In the word abnormal, the prefix ab means away, and combined with norm gives us abnormal, which means deviating from what is normal. In paranormal, the prefix para means beyond, and combined with norm means events or phenomena that are beyond the scope of normal scientific understanding. The root phobia means fear or dislike. The word claustrophobia includes the prefix claustrum, which means lock, and combined with phobia, the word means extreme fear of confined places. Xenophobia combines the prefix xeno, which means foreign, with phobia, to give you a word that means extreme dislike of people from other countries. Other examples of words that use phobia are acrophobia, anthrophobia, and monophobia. Okay, so although we have been focusing on vocabulary in this verbal series, building vocabulary alone is not enough to prepare for GRE. It is also very important to understand how words are being applied in context. And it is for this reason that for the videos in this series, I have made an effort to include sentences with each meaning to show you how the words are being used in context to allow you to build a deeper understanding and a better association with words. Understanding how words are used in context requires that you brush up your reading skills. Make reading part of your daily routine and a habit. Try to read for fun and on a variety of topics, so you understand how different disciplines and sciences use the same words in their respective contexts. A few examples where you can find good quality reading material recommended by ETS is as follows. For newspaper reading, check out the New York Times, The Guardian, and the Wall Street Journal Asia. For periodicals, read The Economist, The Scientific American, and the London Review of Books. For online resources, for journal content, go to IOP Science 2 and the Royal Society. I hope this session proved to be useful for you. Please remember to check out other videos in this series. Finally, to wrap up, I'm going to conclude this video with a list of words we learned during the session.